Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I love this one this morning. Behind every angry woman stands a man who has absolutely no idea what he did wrong. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Call in. Good morning on a Tuesday. And a good morning to everybody out there in Radio Land. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And get ready for some rough wintertime driving with the type of tires you need to get you safely down the road. Don't forget, too, all 7 locations serving you. And some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank
you, Wheels. All right, let's go to the weather forecast, and I think we're going to have some changes later on this week. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Roger and the crew bring you the weather, and they offer the rental of the best doggone tools and equipment, and whatever you need to finish a project, they've got it over there. Believe me, all the tillers and the excavators and the log splitters, goodness sakes, everything's there. And if you have questions, give them a jingle. They can help. And the number 678-3122. K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's a beautiful day as we get closer to Thanksgiving. However, for Thanksgiving, things are going to change a bit. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side, and looking at a high of 48 today. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 24. Tomorrow, another nice one. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 52. By tomorrow night, that's when things are going to start to change. We do have a 20% chance of rain and or snow showers after midnight. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 36. By Thanksgiving Day, rain and snow showers are definite in the forecast. Mostly cloudy skies, and winds could gust up as high as 21 miles an hour. High of 46 by Thursday night. Chance of rain or snow after midnight, low of 34, and that's going to continue for Friday. More rain showers and snow showers in the forecast, and highs in the mid-40s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. She does a fine job with that weather. And we also want to thank Roger and the crew at K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. The number to call, get more information, is 678-3122. K&R Rental, serving you. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody quickly that the Burley Livestock Sale Yard is not going to have a sale this Thursday, of course, being Thanksgiving. And the Burley Livestock Sale Yard at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, they wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. It's always been the sale that works for you. Merv, May, Cade, Rogge, Lance, Udy, they're going to take the week off and enjoy a great big Thanksgiving turkey like the rest of us, but they'll be back next week with another great sale at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Real quick, also, want to give a big shout-out to Kevin and Cindy at Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You know, I've said this before, and people have called me Are you serious that they'll do our washing? Yep. They'll wash, dry, fold, and iron all the clothes that you need taken care of. Just take them into Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They are the best at what they do, and we really appreciate them. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Good morning, Zeb. How's everything this morning?
Wonderful.
Well, I got a question for you.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Okay. Now, that federal judge ruled against Trump's asylum law or his concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the state of Idaho, the taxpayers pick up the indigent cost. Now, how many of these people, if they're brought into this country on asylum, will end up on Idaho's indigent roll?
Oh, I'm sure many or most. A lot of people don't realize that we, the taxpayers, are being duped into thinking that all is well in Immigration Street by letting these people in here. And it ends up being a horrendous cost to us, whether it's for their transportation, their housing, their clothing, their food, the children's education, whatever the case might be. Tony, get ready for a big slap in the face financially, because if this deal on the border falls through, and not 1,000, but tens of thousands of people possibly coming up, you're in for another jolt to what you pay, but you don't get to enjoy.
Well, of course, that's going to have a good side at one point. People are going to quit buying. There's not going to be enough money to cover the cost, and this is going to cause a big emergency for some of our politicians, like this federal judge.
You know, I can't imagine why the American public is so gullible into not understanding these people do not have jobs. These people are not contributing anything. They have to be cared for. They have to be provided housing. And where do they think the money's coming from? Is it going to go out on a fruit tree in the backyard, shake it, and down fall $100 bills? This is idiocy.
Well, these people come in here. They can't speak English. They don't contribute anything. The only thing they're going to do is bleed you and I. Why bring them in here to ruin the economy?
Oh, but Tony, we have to be our brother's keeper. We have to take care of them. We have to clothe them and feed them, even though many of them are criminals, that's been proven. And I'm fed up with this milk of human kindness garbage. If we can't take care of our elderly, and we can't clean up our homeless situations around the United States, what in the world are we doing absorbing more people that are going to be absolutely non-contributory to our system?
Well, the only thing I can say to end this conversation with is that federal judge must be a Democrat.
A dumb one. There you go, Tony. Thank you. God bless you. Appreciate you.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
buddy.
Bye.
Yeah, there was an article in the paper this morning that I'm going to mention to Frosty Woldridge, too. It's not just written by our paper. No, it was written by two absolutely liberal lefties for the Associated Press, a Julie Watson and a Mark Stevenson. And I'm going to tear this thing apart here in just a minute and explain to you and show you how absolutely liberal and loony this article is. Stand by. I want to remind you about Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. And it's not brag, it's a fact. They have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. All you need to do is just stop in and talk to the professionals that have been serving you for over 6 decades. Honestly, at Ramsey Heating and Electric, they're the best. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Also, don't forget, by golly, I tell you, Denny's Restaurant has got some phenomenal Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day meals. You got to check out this great big turkey and dressing dinner pack. Oh, my. Woo! Food fit for a king, and all the kings will be there, I'll tell you, at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. It is absolutely good looking, and I know it's going to be great tasting. All of this at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And, of course, they've got another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Yes, they are America's Diner. Oh, quickly, I want to remind you, next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, the 29th, we'll have our November lunch bunch at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget, America's Diner. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. As you may or may not be aware, and you should be aware because my audience is pretty much on top of everything, and there are riots going on in Tijuana. And residents feel that they're absolutely being pushed into obscurity, and there are people trying to take over their property. They're leaving litter and garbage all over the place. These caravanners are coming through and basically just taking up a spot on the world right on their front lawn. And here's the thing that really bothered me, and I want you to read this if you question whether I'm telling you the truth or not. There was an article in the paper this morning, and here's the headline: Protests frighten many. Now, the subheadline is, United States fortifies border as legal groups argue against Trump decree. But now listen to the first sentence in this story, written by two loony liberals for the Associated Press. Many Central American migrants camped in Tijuana after crossing Mexico in a caravan said Monday that a protest over the weekend by residents demanding they leave frightened them. This is complete insanity. The residents didn't want them there, and they were demanding that they leave, and it frightened the caravanners. Oh, they don't like us, even though we're living on their front lawn. What kind of lunacy is this? And then later on in the same article, to tell you how much of a liar these two writers are, they said that criminals and gang members are in the group and even terrorists, though there is no evidence of that. Yeah, there is. They found over 500 of them. This is what gripes me about this whole thing. The absolute push toward accepting any and all and more, thousands and thousands, millions of people from out of this country. And we're supposed to just sit back and say, yeah, be sure and put your tent on my front yard. What are you doing over there, Wheels? Please, just the cow. Thank you, my friend. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, I, for one, am sick and gosh dang tired of all these liberals being whine and boo babies about all these illegals coming in. Why can we not take care of our homeless and our veterans here? Do they think those people on the Tijuana border are going to do anything different if they get into our country?
You know, and here's the thing you just said, if they get in. There was a talk yesterday by quite a few that they were going to stage kind of a bum rush on the border. In other words, they were going to put a frontal assault on some of the open gates and some of the check-in points, and they were going to have a bum rush to get across the border, and whether it was 500 or 1,000 or more, they were going to just storm and make their way in a belligerent fashion. You know what my response is to that, Donna, and I think you're going to agree with me. No, we're going to stick the gun in your face, and you're not going to come into this country unless it's in a legal fashion.
I'm totally in agreement. I am sick and tired of these people saying that we have to let them in. Why do we have to be everybody's rescuer? We can't even help our veterans. What's wrong with that picture?
Well, you painted the picture right there. I mean, whether it's our elderly, whether it's the homeless situation with major cities that need to be cleaned up somehow and it's going to take money, or whether it's our young people, whether it's the opioid crisis with the drug problems, why not us first? Why not us first instead of being an open door for everybody to come in here and actually exacerbate the problem?
Sure. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I am so fed up with all these politics. You know, and it's Republican and Democrat. You know, I don't know what they're thinking. They must have forgot that part in school about, you know, doing for ourselves and working for the people that hired you to you know, enact our laws and go by our Constitution. What the heck is the matter with these people?
But doesn't it strike you as completely, almost laughable, if it wasn't so serious, that the Associated Press would write a story saying, oh, well, the residents of Tijuana were demanding that the caravanners leave, and it frightened the caravanners.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to frighten them too myself.
I tell you what, the bleeding heart liberal loons, they are winning. We need to put our foot down. And I really support the residents of Tijuana. Actually, you haven't heard me say that on this program. I support the residents of Tijuana because actually now they know what we live through here in the United States. They're going through the same problems of getting out of bed in the morning and finding people walking through their garage, backyard, front yard, and even their kitchens.
Yep. And, you know, Zeb, I'm all for putting more troops on the border and arming them. You know, if you know those ones that you see on the fences, you know, that are trying to climb over the fence, shoot them sons of bitches. Sons of guns off of there.
Yeah. I better end this real quick. I know. I appreciate your call. Be careful. Thank you very much. All right.
You have a good day.
Caller number 2, I'll be right with you. Stand by. I want to remind some of the great folks about wishing you happy Thanksgiving, and they include Searles at 120 North Center Street in Oakley. Gas, grub, and goodies. The store's open from 6 to 9 p.m. Best burger and fries around, and there are specialty buns baked fresh every day. Don't forget Searles in Oakley, along with Kelly's Bearings. 1407 East Main in Burley. Don't let your machine sit idle while you're waiting for a part to come in. Believe me, they've got everything on hand. Bearings, chains, brackets, everything. And you'll know where you're at when you get your bearings at Kelly's. And Dixon Oil Company at 602 South 2nd and Rupert. Don't forget, they've been in business since 1951, and they know how to give you and your vehicle the best possible service. Gas, oil, and goodies and propane. Dixon Oil. Don't forget in Rupert. All of them wishing you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. Caller, stand by. I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody quickly about our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Man, I'll tell you what, they have helped me already with my leg problems that have been coming back, and I can't thank them enough. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, they are excellent with all the exercises and, of course, the hydrotherapy pool. All of this makes these folks really special and helping you get back to being you. Don't forget they're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. I was watching on Fox and Friends this morning, and they had a segment where he was at a restaurant talking to 3 ministers.
Yeah.
And they stated that the gates of heaven, you have certain criteria you have to do to get in. You have laws to obey, and you can only get in one way. Why should our country be anything different?
I heard that, and I was going to use that a little bit later on in this hour, but, here's men of the cloth, the clergy, that absolutely laid it out very explicitly. But I want to ask you about the same thing about this written story from the Associated Press that was in the Times News this morning, that the protests that the residents are having against these people just coming into their city and taking up residence on their lawns, in their park, in their backyard, everywhere, and the caravanners are frightened.
As well they should be.
You got it. You know what? What would you do, Doug Martin? And I don't want any Hollywood theatrics here. I want the honest truth. What would you do if you were one of those residents and all of a sudden you've got people laying on your front lawn, in your backyard, coming up to the house saying demanding that they want to use your bathroom? I mean, whoa, baby, what are you going to do?
Well, they wouldn't be there that long. They might walk on, but they'll walk off under their own power if they heed my advice. But if they don't heed my advice, they better have an ID on them.
I can't imagine how liberal this situation has become, to the point where writers for the Associated Press would write a story about the caravanners, the illegal aliens being frightened because the residents are complaining about them. It's in complete reverse of what should be reported on.
Exactly. And there's one thing that a lot of people are not talking about. There's just a couple people I've heard talk about it. But the health problem.
Oh, my.
I mean, the diseases that they can bring into this country can just wipe out half of this country. I mean, you come into Ellis Island, they had to be screened for diseases and all sorts of stuff. And if they didn't pass, there was no, oh, sorry, that's okay. They got put on a ship and sent back.
The thing is, Doug, and it's no different than the refugees coming in from the Middle East. We do not have a dossier on these people. We do not have any county courthouse records. We do not have any medical exams or medical charts to prove their whether they've had shots for polio or typhus, anything. We don't have any of that information. We're just basically having a bum rush on our border from these people saying, we're coming in and you can't stop us. Au contraire, Trump had better stop this now.
And he will. He will. And that federal judge, how can one person rule the country? It's supposed to be Congress, Senate, and the president. One person sitting on a bench think that they can write the laws, and they can't. And when the liberal judge will decipher the law the way they want to hear it, not the way it is, isn't right.
Well, it has boiled down to a right and a left, a black and a white issue. The left is taking the side of all of these people in the world that want to come here can. I'm taking the side of no more people. Nobody's going to bum rush the border. They want to come in and apply for citizenship and apply for asylum. That's fine. They will be scrutinized and looked at. But no more of this absolute pugnacious attitude of sticking their finger in the chest of Uncle Sam and saying, hey, we're coming in and you can't stop us.
Exactly. That's exactly it. President Trump is doing what he can to make this right. He wants to solve the problem. Our government, the last 20 years, Republicans and Democrats did not want to solve this. They wanted to have this so they could use it as talking points come election time. And I condemn them for what they've done.
Well, yeah, and here's the other thing. The American public is being lied to by most of the media. Trump's not wrong when he calls the media liars and frauds and charlatans. Most all the media are not covering the story about what's happening down in Tijuana with the residents that live there versus the caravanners that are taking up their space on the streets, etc. And one network only devoted like 18 seconds or 23 seconds to the story about what's happening with the complaints down there in Tijuana with the residents. The Fox News channel is the only one that I'm aware of that is giving a full story on this, on both sides of the issue. And other than that, the rest of them, because they're all tied into Open Borders campaign, they're not telling the truth.
Exactly. And that is, they are an enemy of the people when they will not be honest with the people.
That's right.
And I don't care who it is or what they say. When you lie to people to get your narrative through and get it passed, you are the enemy of the people.
Yeah, listen to this other line that I haven't read yet from this story, and I want to get your response on this quickly, Doug, because I'm short on time. It said, quote, for most of the city, in reference to Tijuana, of 1.6 million people, the arrival of thousands of Central Americans is not noticeable.
What?
Yeah, buddy. That's a direct quote from the story. It says, for most of the city, 1.6 million people, the arrival of thousands of Central Americans is not noticeable.
Those two people that wrote that, I have pity for them. They have no idea what they're doing.
Well, it was called a farce that it was going to be a invasion. It was called a joke that people would be worried about it. It was called a fraud by some of the Hollywood weirdos that have got the brain IQ of a box of rocks. It was just absolutely belittled. But all of a sudden, thousands of people are there. Thousands more are coming. And nobody seems to really give a doggone about the sanctity and sovereignty of our nation. And the people of Tijuana and Mexico, you can't blame them for being upset because those caravanners are living right there in their home.
Yeah, and they're saying that Trump was right.
Yes.
This is an invasion.
Yes.
And that's what I loved about their deal there, too. All we got to do is let Trump, he has the right ideas. All we got to do is get behind him and back him. So call your senators and congressmen and tell them to back President Trump on this immigration because he wants to fix it.
Yeah, and you might also make the insinuation that anybody that doesn't is a coward and unknowledgeable about the truth.
And they are the enemy of the people.
You got it.
Want to fix this problem.
You got it. Doug, thank you very much, and I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving.
I do. I got two quick things. Everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's support them, donate to them this holiday season. And also, you might be a redneck if you have a gate to your property but no fence.
I know people like that. Thanks, Doug. All righty. Hey, don't forget Ark Animal Hospital. I'm going to cough. Hold on just a second. Still fighting this cold that has been with me for over a month. I hate this thing. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. Number to call, 678-1177. They are a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all, take care of them all. Itty-bitty kitty cats all the way up to the dairy cattle, horses, you name it. They really care. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole crew, they want your animals to stay healthy. Any problems, give them a call, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital, they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Also, calls are welcome. Don't leave me hanging this morning. What would you feel? Honestly, come on, tell me. You wake up, and let's assume that now you're a resident of Tijuana. Okay? And all of a sudden you wake up and you've got literally thousands of people that are living right there on the streets, right there on your front yard, right there in your backyard, knocking on the door they want and demanding that they come in and use your toilet? Oh, my. Oh, my. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Don't forget our dear friends at Dino Septic Service. They do the job that you and I don't want to do. I don't want to be standing outside pumping a septic tank. No. I don't want to take care of all the sewer and sink drain line cleaning. No. They take care of all the liquid waste removal and septic inspections and septic tanks and drain fields installed. They do it all. They do it all. And they've recently expanded their business to better serve more people. Dino Septic Service with the number of 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. Dino Septic Service with the big truck. Smells cargo on the way. Why are you and I being labeled as racists and haters and bigots? And believe me, some of the calls I get by those that are not very brave, they won't call on the program, but they'll call afterwards. Oh, they're so brave then that they can call me, you're a secluded person that wants everything all for himself. No, I don't. I have what I've earned. I absolutely feel a sense of obligation to help others in this United States to maintain their property and maintain their freedom, not at the risk of somebody from out of this country putting a bum rush on the portals that enter this country and saying, I'm here, you take care of me. I'm not going to stand for that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, good for the people of Tijuana for making the other guys feel frightened. If that's what they did.
Yeah.
You know, that good for them for showing some backbone.
You know, Linda, when I read that this morning, I thought I read it again. I honestly thought I had read it wrong, thinking that it was frightening the residents. But no, the residents, by saying, get off our property, they frightened the caravanners. Oh, poor baby. Doesn't that just make you absolutely almost laugh at first and then get mad second?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, you know, the residents of Tijuana probably are frightened. I don't blame them. I wonder how many of those people think they are Catholics, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, members of other Protestant churches, and they think they can behave like this. They have no right to damage property.
Well, there is no behavior. I mean, Linda, I know you and you're such a sweet lady, but all of a sudden, if your personality changed and you walked into Lunch Bunch and you slammed your purse down on the table and you said, I want my dinner, I want it now, and after dinner, I want a ride to so-and-so, and then after that, I demand that you help me find a place to live, you pay for it, oh, and by the way, I need a warmer winter coat, give me a jacket. That's basically what's going on down there on the border now.
Yeah, they're just demanding. And you know, the thing that bothers me is that we have so many more homeless and people begging on the streets that I never saw when I was younger, living in this part of the country. I can't believe it. They're just waiting outside the restaurants for a free handout of what you take home. The other thing is that, you know, it shows that there have got to be ways, creative ways, for governments to get people working to improve themselves and their country. But no, there's nothing down there but corruption, drugs, and everything else. Nobody is trying to improve anything.
Well, you bring up...
that I know of, other than I'm sure the missionaries and things that are down there and agencies that are down there trying to help, but I don't think that the governments are doing anything to help.
Why is it, Linda, why is it your problem? Why is it appeal to your church? Why is it my problem and appeal to my church and their sense of decency? Why are we always the sponge that has to absorb the bad from other countries when in essence nobody is talking about the root of the problem, whether it's in Honduras or El Salvador or Guatemala or whatever? Nobody's talking about the root of the problem to clean up their act and make sure they treat their people better so we don't have this problem.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not doing it. They're not taking care of their people, and it's easy for them to palm off what they don't want, and certainly what doesn't want them, onto us.
That's absolutely right. I hope that Donald Trump remains firm. I hope that he absolutely remains pugnacious in his attitude of they're not coming in. Because I'll guarantee you this, Linda, if they let one in on kind of a bum rush on the border to where they're here and you can't stop us, we've lost.
Yeah. And there are people that are doing everything, including buying up property and saying that they won't allow the government to build a wall, and they'll sue if they do. And they're trying to stop him. But you know, there's water on both sides of that wall. They're going to have to protect our shores also.
Well, you're 1,000% right there, Linda. I want to extend to you a very happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for your call.
Oh, you are welcome, and to you and Deanna and your family also.
Thank you.
A wonderful, blessed Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thankful for.
I do. Thank you. A lovely lady right there, and what a singer. What a singer. Hey, let's not forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. It's, did I say that already? I did. I was going to give them another plug. I forgot to turn the page. We are over at Barry Equipment and Rental right now. Attaboys up. Sales, service, and parts. Their locations are 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with one good guy. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli and the Nampa location. They've got all the equipment rentals, and all the retail equipment sales. And listen to this. They are right now offering on all the Bobcats 0% interest up to 60 months on the Bobcats. Woo! You better get in there today. These people really know their business and can help you. Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Absolutely the best. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This problem in Tijuana is only going to get larger. And I honestly think we're going to be seeing some other hot spots at Nogales, Arizona. I think we're going to be seeing some other hot spots in Texas. All of this is a planned approach to storm the borders. I mark my words that within the next 2 weeks, there's going to be other clashes and other border cities that are going to be completely taken over. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Everybody's a winner at the senior center today. For lunch, we're having sloppy joes, tater tots, mixed vegetables, and pumpkin bars. Everybody gets lunch for $5, young or old.
Oh, my goodness sakes.
Come on.
Now,
we have takeouts also for $5.
And what number did they call for the takeouts, Joe?
Oh, they better call 208-878-8646.
All right. And they'll have those delicious meals along with the yummy dessert.
All you can eat.
There you go. At the Senior Junction, my friend Joe Taylor. Joe, happy Thanksgiving to you, man. Thanks.
Same to you and Diane.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. How's my favorite rodeo announcer?
Appreciate that, my friend. Go ahead.
Here's my thought on the whole thing. Like it, hate it, I'm indifferent. But here's the thing. Until the American citizens can have enough, and I say American citizens, I didn't say Republicans or Democrats or anything like that, because every person should have their own political standing, whatever it may be. Shouldn't interfere with their personality as a human being, however. But until we can stand up together and say enough is enough, Washington, sit down, shut up, do what we tell you, we elected you, nothing's going to happen, I'm afraid. I'm afraid the borders, we can put up the wall, and we can put all the wire around it we want, but I'm afraid nothing's going to happen until Washington is forced to get off their butt and do the right thing.
No, I agree. I totally agree. And I do not at all shrink from the fact that I'm glad they put the concertina wire up. I'm glad that they have moved some troops into those areas, even though in my own way of thinking they're kind of hamstrung as to what they can do and can't do. I am absolutely glad that they're trying to funnel to the portals coming in. Those that want asylum, they're going to have to wait their turn and make the application. And the rest of them that are sitting there, they should turn around and go home.
I no way about it. And that, along with the concertina wire, seismic meters, which we had when I was overseas around our base to tell people we're tunneling underneath, that would also make me feel a little better.
Yeah, true.
I have no problem with people coming to this country. I have no problem at all. As long as if they do it legally and they actually want to work. And there are some that actually want to come here to make a better life for themselves. But there are those that don't. They're just here to try it and live off the system because they hear how great and wonderful and generous America is, as long as if you vote one way or the other. But
yeah,
I'll let you go.
Yeah, well, Riley, I appreciate your call. Very good insight this morning. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'm going to ask you a favor to please stay on the phone. 60 seconds. I got to get a weather forecast on here really quick. You will be next, I promise. Don't forget our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Absolutely the best in serving your hearing needs. 3 doctors, Dr. Hunsaker, Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, all absolutely with the best in diagnostic testing and treatment to help your hearing. So please get a hold of them today. They're right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Number to call, 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's a beautiful day as we get closer to Thanksgiving. However, for Thanksgiving, things are going to change a bit. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side, and looking at a high of 48 today. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 24. Tomorrow, another nice one. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 52. By tomorrow night, that's when things are going to start to change. We do have a 20% chance of rain and or snow showers after midnight. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 36. By Thanksgiving Day, rain and snow showers are definite in the forecast, mostly cloudy skies, and winds could gust up as high as 21 miles an hour. High of 46 by Thursday night. Chance of rain or snow after midnight, low of 34, and that's going to continue for Friday. More rain showers and snow showers in the forecast, and highs in the mid-40s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. If you have a hearing problem, call them today and make an appointment at 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You've got it done, buddy. You have given me a cold over the phone.
Well, I'm sorry about that. Keith, what else can I do for you this morning?
Okay, you wouldn't think about going to Twin Falls or Burley or anywhere else without being prepared, would you? I mean, you make sure you had enough gas in the car, you had enough for lunch money, a few things like that. That's just a way of life. These people that are at our borders right today, you cannot tell me they left that country without any money in their pockets. I would stake my life on it because you just don't do that. Even these people who've come from very poor circumstances don't do that. Some character like George Soros or Tom Skyers have furnished the money for these people to make this trip.
Well,
how come along the way there's always some place where they catch a run?
Oh, yeah. And that there's always food, and they've got sanitation services. I know, it's an orchestrated event, but the bulk of the American public is being fed, these poor people. And some of the media is saying, they're mostly women that are trying to bring their children to a better life. Baloney. They found out that almost 90 to 95% of these caravanners are young men, 18 to 35, and many of which belong to gangs or criminals. I am not going to go to the kitchen refrigerator and find the jug of milk that says the milk of human kindness because I want this stopped.
Well, you're absolutely right, but it is so evident that this is the way it is. Riley had suggested that you load these people in that 4-deck hog hauler and take them back.
Keith,
even contribute to that.
Well, Keith, why in the world are we being subjected to forced immigration? In other words, we're being told in a pugnacious attitude, we're coming in and you can't stop us. Get out of the way. We're going to have a bum rush on the border. We're coming in to the tune of thousands upon thousands and thousands with more waves coming out of Central America. And we're supposed to sit back and just basically play like a matador and wave them in? This is insanity.
Well, let's do it this way. You're going to take a trip. The first thing you do is you get out a map and look at things and everything. No, these people probably don't have a map, but they have somebody there that has a map, and they're showing exactly how to do these things, and said, America will accept you. They have to.
Well, think about what I asked earlier. I'm going to ask you the same question, and I don't want a funny retort. I want a serious retort. What would happen if you and Nancy woke up tomorrow morning and there were like 6 or 7 tents on your front lawn and the same number in your back lawn, and people were beating on your door to come in and use your bathroom facilities? That's what's happening in Tijuana, and the residents are upset, and the AP wrote a story that said, well, the residents are upset and it's scaring the caravanners.
Yeah, the poor caravanners.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's just it. The whole thing is utterly disgusting.
It is.
You know, these people are really, yeah, they might be poor people, but they're not the poorest, because the poorest person couldn't go to one of their meetings before they left, or know who to go to get some money to travel on. All these people that are in this caravan are well-dressed.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to run and do a spot, Keith, but I appreciate your call, and thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your wife. Thank you.
You do
all right.
The same.
Thank you. Calls are welcome, 436. I got time for about 1 or 2 more calls. Quickly, give me a jingle. Don't forget the big Black Friday sale for this Friday and Saturday at Redder's Showcase at 2611 Overland in Burley. Holy moly, is this going to be a sale? Everything on sale. Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, Tempur-Pedic, Stanton Furniture. Woo! 12 months, same as cash on approved credit. The deals are for 2 days only, this Friday and Saturday. Check it out. Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. Friday and Saturday, big Black Friday sale. Don't you miss it. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Like to hear from you. You know, in another subject, but Stacey Abrams in Georgia, the very spoiled, sarcastic, and not willing to accept defeat Democrat that is a socialist, she is coming out and saying that the election was not free and not fair. Now, I did a little research on this and come to find out that she was saying that the vote had been stymied in Georgia. Well, I found out that 1.4 million people more voted this year than in previous times. So I guess I had to scratch my head a little bit and think about this socialist woman that was trying to tell things that were not true. If the vote had been not free and not fair, and yet 1.4 million people more voted this year, and local voter checks had been the best ever to see really who was qualified, who was eligible, and who was honest to vote, what kind of a stand is she trying to make? Probably the same one that happened in Florida. We're going to be talking to Rachel Alexander at 10:30 this morning. And she has written a piece for the Stream, and it talks about how one person signed an affidavit saying that she witnessed poll workers filling out ballots and stuffing them in the ballot box. We're going to be talking about that at 10:30 this morning. Don't miss that. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Almost choked to death there on my cough drop. Hold on. Woo! They absolutely have all the tires you need to get ready for anything that the highways and the roadways are going to throw at you this winter. The ice and the snow and the slush and the mush, everything else. They've got all the tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes for your cars, pickups, SUVs. All you need to do is just get in there and see them today. Be prepared. Be prepared. And they also provide the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. It's going to start getting a lot colder, so make sure your battery's in good shape. If it isn't, get a new one right there at any one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane in Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Can't hardly wait for the next hour. Frosty Woldridge from Golden, Colorado is going to be on, and boy, I think he's going to straighten some things out. We're going to have him on, and then at, 10:06, Dr. History, and then at 10:32, Rachel Alexander. All of this and much, much more on Zeb at the Ranch. I do want to take a little time, though, to extend from Deanne and I and our family to you. And a lot of people are taking off this afternoon and tomorrow to meet with family for a blessed Thanksgiving. Drive carefully. Please drive carefully and have a very happy Thanksgiving. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studio. We'll be back after the CBS News. Don't go away. Welcome back. Hour number 2 on a Tuesday, November 20th. And good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's have this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, you know, I keep telling you about the dumpsters. They've got them in various sizes, you know, like the small, medium, large, whatever the case might be. You can have them deliver one so you can clean out the basement, the garage, whatever. Fill it up, call them, they'll come and get it. Absolutely. Probably a good idea right before Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays and everything. Oh, yeah. Clean things up and clean things out. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today at 734-6969. Western Waste Services. Well, we're going to go to our guest in just a moment, but I also want to remind you we've got a lot of people that want to wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving, including Butte Irrigation at 116 South, 600 West of Paul, and at Red Cap Corner on Kimberly Road. They are your Zematic dealer for all your irrigation needs. They will get you wet at Butte Irrigation. Golden Valley Warehouse at 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. They want to say thank you to all their customers. Don't forget they sell quality seed to quality people. Thank you very much, Golden Valley Warehouse. And our friends at Snake River Auto Body and Paint, 404 4th Avenue West in Twin Falls. I know firsthand how great these guys are. Ken and Dan, the whole crew, you got a little ding in your four-wheel wonder, they can fix it and get it back the way it should be at Snake River Auto Body and Paint in Twin Falls. And they all wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Let's go right now to the phone line, and we'll probably have to break in about another 15 minutes for another one of our sponsor breaks, but I can't wait to get him on the air this morning. My friend from Golden, Colorado, that has one of my Zeb at the Ranch official steak knives to cut his tofurkey. Here's Frosty Woldridge.
And good morning, Zeb, and very happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you listening today, and count the many blessings because they are great when you look at the rest of the world. So thank you for having me on, Zeb.
Oh, it is my pleasure and privilege. Frosty, I want to start this thing off this morning with an Associated News press story that was in my paper this morning, and I think probably with your diligence you've already read it. The headline was, protests frighten many. And then, after I look further, here's the first paragraph of the story, and I'm sure you're going to laugh sardonically like I did. Quote, many Central American migrants camped in Tijuana after crossing Mexico in a caravan said Monday that a protest over the weekend by residents demanding they leave frightened them. Ay, 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 your response, please.
Well, there are so many extraordinary statements that have gone on in just the last week. Don Lemon, and so I'm not getting surprised anymore. Don Lemon said the greatest terrorists in America are white men.
Oh, my.
And that was a quote. And Don Lemon, who is a black host for CNN, really made one of the greatest racist statements here in the 21st century from a black man, and yet he has literally not been even talked to, or he's not been banned, and he gets away with it. Whereas if a white host said the same thing,
yep.
He would be absolutely thrown in jail, torched in his seat, and you name it. We all know that Roseanne Barr was tossed off an entire sitcom because she made a somewhat of a racist statement, not even close to that one. And, of course, Megyn Kelly, the great lady who was said something about black faces on her program, she was tossed. And, of course, John Lewis, every time he turns around, the only word he can say, and he's a House member there in Georgia, he says, all of us are racists. So when you look at what's going on, it blows your mind. Of course, Stacey Abrams, the former governor candidate for governor of Georgia, said, we don't need agriculture. We've got grocery stores.
Yeah.
This was somebody that was trying to become the leader and the governor of Georgia, making the most absurd statement that you can imagine. And then you've got the Ocasio-Cortez lady, and in an interview, and I watched it, she said the three branches of government are the presidency, the House, and the Senate.
Yeah.
This lady is going to be a member of the House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives, and she hasn't got a brain to understand and has never read the Constitution, certainly not the Declaration of Independence. And then you've got that Radashi, a lady who was a Muslim from Detroit who was elected into the House of Representatives from Michigan, and she wrapped herself in a Palestinian flag and will take her oath of office with the Quran, along with the Muslim from Minnesota who's going to do the same. It just gets crazier by the minute. And, of course, we just heard from the imam, and this is an imam from, he's a religious leader. He's a Boston imam named Abdullah Farouk, and he said on November the 12th, what's wrong with you, you sick Americans? This is the land of the coward and home of the slave. Islam is America's future. Without Islam, America will meet its demise, unquote. Zeb, things are getting just a little bit dicey out there in America, and all of it is being literally, whether you look at the Caravan who wants to break over our borders and commit complete mayhem in our country, we've got enough of it already going on in this country as it is.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that the situation in the world today and the situation that the world wants to impose on us is comparable to a little child that needs to be told no. If the child continues to do what he should not be doing, that little child needs to be smacked on the bottom to understand the word no. That's the situation we're in right now. We have so many people that want to subvert the value and the Constitution of this United States. We have so many people that are pointing their finger in our chest chest and saying, get out of the way, Uncle Sam. We're coming in whether you like it or not. It's about high time, with whatever force is necessary, and I don't back up on this, we need to stop this situation and say emphatically, no.
Well, we certainly do, you know, and at the same time, you've got people like U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, who is likening ICE, and these ICE agents, there's, I think, the 10,000 of them, are protecting us from total chaos in this country of illegal immigration. And she, in a hearing just in the last week, wanted to associate ICE agents with the KKK.
Oh, I know it.
And I think Kamala Harris, if I remember correctly, she may be an anchor baby, but I'm not exactly sure. But that's how fragmented we are. And I would really direct everyone this morning to my latest column. It's called Immigrants versus Americans, Fragmenting America's Culture. And in that piece that I wrote, and you can go to newswithviews.com, there is a 12-minute video, and that video needs to be seen by every American because it shows La Raza, which is the race and only the race, the Mexican race, the ethnic group of Mexicans, Latinos from Mexico and Central America, are working to create brown power. And the guy says it. California and Arizona will be under Mexican dominance here just because of brown power and birth rates. And he's right. That's what's happening. And, of course, right there in San Diego, during this speech, they raised the Mexican flag over San Diego, and they got away with it. So there's no question we are under siege right now by foreign entities and foreign invasion forces, and this caravan is just the first of many. That's what's going on.
You know, and other parts of this article, pardon me, I've got to share this with you, Frosty, in case you haven't read it. Later on in the article, they made this quote, and you got to listen and really listen to what they're saying here. For most of this city, and they're referring to Tijuana, for most of this city of 1.6 million, the arrival of thousands of Central Americans is not noticeable.
I saw the fights and I saw the riots going on, a video just yesterday. And, of course, those people in Tijuana don't want those 14,000 or 7,000 or whatever the number is, and they can't wait to pawn them off on us. And, again, you know, Trump has been or was trying to do everything he could to stop them at the border. But I'm not sure that the courts are even allowing this to happen. So it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen with these invaders. From what I understand, they're starting to let them through for processing. So, again, as we've said many times in the past, there's no end of the line because Mexico right now is about to add 20 million more people before the mid-century, and certainly places like Honduras is going to double their population. Honduras just doubled its population in the last 40 years. If you think that's going to cease at this point, you have another thing coming. So the refugee line is never going to end from Honduras or El Salvador or Nicaragua or certainly Panama, any of them, because they're simply overpopulating themselves, and they want us to be the exhaust valve that'll save them.
I was asked yesterday after the program, excuse me, a gentleman called me and he said, okay, on your radio program, you're talking about how many of these illegals basically are saying they're coming in and we can't stop them. And they're going to have a bum rush on the different portals and say, we're coming through whether you want us or not. What are you going to do about it? The man was asking me. And I didn't even hesitate. There is no way in the world that on any other nation's country or entry would they allow a bum rush into their country and then once they're on the other side just thumb their noses at the government and go wherever they want. If brute force is all these people know, then brute force is what we should provide.
Well, we certainly need to provide brute force, whether it's tear gas or whether it's that new electronic weapon that we have that absolutely, it literally forces them to flee the area once you turn it on them. But we have to, or just, I don't care, hand-to-hand combat right there at the border. We have got to stop them. And then by stopping them, then Mexico will have to start doing something, because another 7,000 to 10,000 people that don't have any toilets to use, don't have any food to eat, don't have any money to buy food, and are literally tearing up the infrastructure of Tijuana. And I've been to Tijuana.
So have I.
That place is a mess.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know, you can't even throw toilet paper in the toilets. They have it little boxes beside the toilets because it would completely jam up their very defective water systems and sewage systems. So they are going to have a problem, and so it is literally going to be a mess. So we have to defend ourselves, and I'm ready for brute force, whatever it means.
Well, the mayor of Tijuana, and this was the one bright spot in this very black story the last couple of days, is that he got on a megaphone along with some others and said, President Trump is right. This is an invasion. And you've got property owners that are incensed because they've got people laying on their front lawns in their backyards, coming up and beating on the door, demanding they use the toilet facilities. This thing is completely out of hand, and for the liberal left to say, oh, well, the poor caravanners, they feel frightened, I'm just going to come right out and say I couldn't care less.
Well, in the end, they should be camped out on Nancy Pelosi's mansion front steps, demanding to use the toilet and the kitchen. The same with Jerry Brown, the same with Kamala Harris, the same with every one of those senators and House reps that have actually aided and abetted all of this invasion, because California is a sanctuary state, and most of its cities are sanctuary cities, and so literally they've invited the invasion, and personally, in the end, and right now in Southern California, I did the research, there's 22 Spanish-speaking radio stations and 6 television stations that are literally taking care of the anywhere from 5 to 10 million Spanish-speaking people there in Southern California, including anywhere from 4 to 6 million illegal aliens that are occupying San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and dozens of other cities. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been down there. I got to see it this summer on my bicycle ride through California. It's absolutely already invaded. I don't see how California is going to survive this, and certainly when more and more of Southern Californians flee the state and take those tax dollars with them, the whole state of California is going to start collapsing under this extraordinary illegal alien and legal immigrant load. This literally an onslaught and occurring every day, single day of the year. I don't know if anybody knows it, and I think I've said it. 1,655 people are added to California every single day of the year. 98% of them are legal and or illegal immigrants. That's how bad it is.
When we come back, I've got to do a little commercial break.
5 people added every day.
Wow. When we come back, I've got to do a little commercial break, Frosty, but I want to talk about the cost factor. Where do these networks, where do these people like Don Lemon, where do these people come from saying this is all going to aid and abet our American economy by having these people come here? Where in what kind of a cloudy crystal ball are they looking at? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Right now, I also want to remind you about Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. This is a wonderful business put together by Holly Rowe and her associates at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. And if a senior wants to stay at home, they can help, of course, with the meal preparation and maybe some light housekeeping chores, errands that need to be run, etc. They want the seniors to be comfortable in their own home. So please call and find out more at 312-5715. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. And they wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. Also, our friends over at Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff at 710 6th Street in Rupert. When there is the passing of a loved one, they are there to serve you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Here's the telephone number to call, 436-5636. I'll repeat it one more time, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home in Burley. Frosty, why is it that the news media and many of our absolutely complicit politicians with what's happening that's illegal, why are they telling us that here are people coming into our country, infiltrating our country, they without jobs, without skills, without any home, without anything, they're going to be an asset to our economy?
That is the greatest farce perpetrated on the American people. First of all, these people are essentially illiterate. They have no skills whatsoever. They have very little, if any, education whatsoever. They have no understanding of what it's like to live and thrive in a first world country. And here's the reality. Robotics are now starting to take over just about every kind of redundant job here in America. And these robotics, they're taking over all of the farming. I mean, again, everybody says, well, we got to have them for, and this summer I had people tell me this, oh, we got to have them for agriculture. No, we don't need them for agriculture. I mean, we've got machines that will pick tomatoes, pick corn, pick celery, pick potatoes, pick everything. We need very little. And in fact, illegal aliens that have come into this country that are being employed by illegal alien employers, less than 2% or around 2%. So the rest of these illegals, and certainly the legal immigrants, are undercutting the wages of American citizens, certainly Hispanic Americans, and certainly African Americans are all being undercut, and their wages are being undercut. And that's the reality. I mean, even in my little town of Golden, Colorado, you've got the natural grocers. Natural grocers only pays $13 an hour for veterans with in excess of 7 years of working for the company. You can't live on $13 an hour in this day and age. This is no less than a $20 an hour if you're going to be working solid kind of wage. It's got to be $20. In fact, I just wrote Natural Grocers, and I said it's embarrassing to step into your store. I'd rather pay higher money for the products and the produce rather than you starving your employees. But that's the reality we're facing. We can't take in all of these completely unskilled people, and we can't afford literally to have our society being inundated with them. That's just a fact.
But, you know, where are we right now? You've written so many excellent pieces about this problem with illegal aliens and an immigration problem into this country, also the refugee problem coming into this country. Really, we're 2 years away from the 2020 presidential elections, and you know as well as I do that they will only give lip service and not, they'll kind of gloss over the problem, but they're not going to do anything about it, if ever. I'm really concerned that our country is going to tip upside down or sideways within the next couple of months, because if any of these caravanners bum rush one of the portals and they get in here, and then all of a sudden the United States is playing like a matador saying, yeah, come on in, we're done. We're toast, because thousands upon thousands, equating to millions, are going to keep coming in, and we can't stop them.
Well, that's correct. You know, we think that the 7,000 to 14,000 in this caravan is a big deal, but the reality is 1,500 illegal aliens cross our borders anywhere from Brownsville, Texas, all the way up to San Diego every night. Again, that number is over 500,000 per year. That's been documented by Center for Immigration Studies, Dr. Stephen Camarata. So they're already storming the borders. Again, every person listening, we are being invaded every night outside of the caravan by 1,500 people who get through and avoid detection and literally get into this country and jump on buses and are transported to all of the different cities across this country. So this caravan is just indicative of what's really going on, and it's a mass caravan with 7 to 14,000 people. But within 2 weeks, the caravan is completely overrun and overwhelmed by all of these 1,500 people that are getting into our country every night. So yes, we're being invaded. And what's worse is once the Democrats on January the 20th get into power in the House, Trump is going to be neutralized completely. And then you think of these judges that have been stopping him from the anchor baby executive order and the DACA, and you go right on down the line. We are hamstringing our own country. We are literally creating a death knell for our own country, and it's being done to us by our own 535 congressional critters who haven't done anything to stop this invasion in the last 30 years. Period. That's what's going on.
Well, and the thing is, right away, you and I, we're almost back at the same position that we were back in 2007 when Barack Obama was running for president, and we came out and said we do not want Barack Obama as president, and right away, we were the race haters, the bigots, and the hate mongers and everything else, and it went way too far by the liberal left and some of the ditzy Democrats right here in my own area of Idaho. But we're almost back in that same position to where we're the hate mongers and the bigots because we don't want to have an overflowing or an open gate system at our borders because we quite frankly can't afford anymore. We're letting our homeless, we're letting our elderly, we're letting our children, we're letting the drug problem absolutely destroy us. We're not taking care of anything internally, and we're trying to externally bring in more problems.
And let me really share that whole thing with Barack Obama. When that happened back at that point in time, and the country, with guilt-ridden white guilt, voted in Barack Obama, who was totally ineligible and completely unqualified for the presidency of the United States, and he proved it. It was like taking the Titanic and ramming it into an iceberg. Well, we did that first time, but then in the next election with Barack Obama, we just backed up the Titanic and we rammed the same iceberg and voted Barack Obama into office again. And that man literally tore the race relations to pieces in this country, set it back 20, 30 years, and then did absolutely nothing during his 8 years of tenure except he bowed to Saudi princes because he himself is a Muslim, and you got to bow to the prince because the prince is over him. Well, the United States doesn't bow to the right of kings. The United States and the citizens of this country are all free human beings that do not subscribe to the right of kings, and certainly we don't bow to kings. And here we had our own president bowing to a Saudi prince. I'm telling you, it was disgusting for those 8 years. And yet, we're backing up right now for a third time with our Titanic, and we just made the House of Representatives Democratic, and they again are going to try to sink this country because the more they get these illegals in here, the more they have Democratic votes, because all of these illegals all vote Democratic, all their kids vote Democratic, and of course we the American people are paying for it. We're already $21 trillion in debt, and yet this thing is going to completely destroy any kind of ability to function the next 2 years because the House will neutralize the President of the United States and we won't get anything done.
I'm keeping you a few minutes over here because I absolutely am very concerned. You wrote the last piece that I have from you was Immigrants versus Americans Fragmenting America's Culture. And I really don't think that many Americans sit down and think about the American culture, the American lifestyle, the melting pot into the American acceptance of the way we do things. It's going out. I mean, you can see it out on a limb, and somebody's there with a saw trying to saw off that limb, and we'd better try to salvage it before it's almost too late.
Well, it's very much on that tipping point because right now the House of Representatives is going to vote the ability of these Muslim women to have a hijab right there in the middle of the house. And it's supposed to be a separation of church and state. And yet, again, Muslims all over the country right now are getting prayer rooms in high schools. They're getting prayer rooms in elementary schools. And that is against and totally against separation of church and state in America. And so, yes, little by little, and as I just said, I just quoted that imam from Boston. They absolutely plan to take over. And again, the Omar Ahmad, the Director of Council on American Islamic Relations, I can't say this one enough. He said, and I'm quoting, Islam isn't in America to be equal to any faith, but to become dominant. The Quran should be the highest authority in America, and Islam the only accepted religion on earth, unquote. They're telling us, Zeb, exactly what they're going to do to us. And ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, their numbers are growing. They're only 3.5 million right now. Some of them are bragging that they've got 7 million. But what happens when they hit 10 million and 20 million? We're simply going to have the same chaos, the same terrorist attacks, the same female genital mutilation cases, the same of all of the honor killings that are going on now are just going to multiply in this country. We get to be another third world country with all of the conflict and the chaos and the social and cultural breakdown that's already affecting Europe. We're going to have it here. I don't know how you can sit there and give this to your children. Again, numbersusa.org. I hope everybody has joined that organization because it's trying to stop this mass of immigration into our country, and we need to collectively do it. So please join and make sure you empower yourself.
You know, I wanted to ask you one final thought. You have a chance to visit with a lot of the politicians that serve you in the state of Colorado. Excuse me, are you seeing any bright spots as far as any of the personalities that are either old politicians that have been in office before or new ones just assuming office in the next month or so? Are there any bright spots?
There are no bright spots here in Colorado. The state is turning totally blue. It's not even purple anymore. The governor is a openly gay governor. Who was a millionaire, and he bought the governorship. I mean, that's all he did. And he was Jared Polis. He was a U.S. congressman and did nothing on the immigration front, had an F-minus a report card from numbersusa.org. Michael Bennett he was appointed and then reelected. He has done nothing. He has an F-minus. Cory Gardner, the Republican, has been having an F-minus. I think it just got upgraded to a D at this point, but he's doing absolutely nothing. And yes, I've gone into their offices, I've shown them the numbers, I've shown them the facts, and they absolutely, after my 30 minutes, politely, have me vacate the building because they don't want to hear anything more and they won't do anything about it. And all the House reps, they're all becoming Democrats. And again, Democrats they can't wait to have more of these immigrants come in because that gives them more political power. And of course, all of these immigrants vote Democratic because that gives them more free food and free food stamps and Section 8 housing and take care of their children and all that goes with that. So it's a win-win for the Democrats, and it's a lose-lose for all American citizens.
We have a caller with a quick question. Caller, I've only got 3 minutes left. Go ahead, please.
Quick question. In this situation, cannot the president declare a state of war? I'll hang up and listen.
You know, that's an interesting question. With the so-called invasion, which I believe it is, and these people coming in that are illegal and alien to this country, is it almost a state of war when they pugnaciously say they're coming in and we can't stop them?
It is, actually, and it's defined by Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, that the government, and that's the president, has the right and has the duty and the authorization to repel an invasion. And so I would say he absolutely has the right to declare this as a war on the border of the United States of America. And I hope that he somehow garners that authority and then manifests it and has our 10,000 or 15,000 Army and Marine Corps down there to rebuff or repel this invasion. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I would hope so, because, again, if this 7,000 or 14,000 or whatever that number is gets through our borders, there's going to be another 10,000, then another 20,000, and another 20,000 after that are going to storm the borders, because guess what? If you can get away with it the first time, why not get away with it the second time?
Absolutely.
And the fourth.
Absolutely. Frosty, I've got to cut it off for today and say thank you so much for being on the program, and God's blessings to you. Have a very happy Thanksgiving, you and Sandy, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you so much.
And thank you for speaking up, Zeb, and I hope everybody that's listening appreciates that Zeb Bell stands up for America, and Deanne Bell stands up for America. They work for this country and our future, and God bless both of you.
Thank you very much, Frosty. I appreciate your call on this morning's program. Thank you. Dear friend, Frosty Woldridge in Golden, Colorado. Wheels, are you right there? I need you to do me a favor real quick.
Yes, sir, I am.
We have a little circumstance here I have to take care of really quick, and I'm going to ask you to just put on a quick tune. We're not leaving. I'll be right back, but I've got to address an issue here that we have. I've got to take care of it real fast, and if you would please help me out, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I'll
Thank
put
you.
your bumpers now.
Thank you. Wheels, we are back. We've got everything taken care of. We thought we had some livestock out, but it's not ours, so I guess we're in good shape. Thank you, Wheels. I appreciate your help. All right. I want to remind everybody that Redder's Showcase is going to have an outstanding kind of a Black Friday sale this Friday and Saturday. Don't forget, it's at Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. Everything is on sale Friday and Saturday, the 23rd and 24th. Whirlpool, Maytag, along with Serta, Tempur-Pedic, Stanton Furniture, all of these items and so much more on sale. 12 months, same as cash on approved credit, and it's just 2 days only, Friday and Saturday at Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley. Don't you forget to stop in and save money. Oh, my goodness sakes. Let's also take a look at our dear friends at Let's Ride. Hello, Let's Ride, with Nick and Randy and the whole crew. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And the telephone number to call, 436-4771. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Saturdays, 9 to 4. And they've got snowmobiles all over the showroom. I'm telling you what, when the old angel dandruff starts falling up on the hills, you'll be ready to go and have some fun. They've also got all the accessories. So there you go. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, serving you where the fun is sold. You stop over and see these good folks today. We also want to acknowledge some other folks that are over in that neck of the woods that really, really care about you, your family, and, of course, your business. And that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, they care, they can help. Like I said, for you, your family, and your business, all you have to do is just give a call to their office number at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. They are really dedicated and responsive to your needs. Give them a call today. Make an appointment. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good folks. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast. And our weather is brought to you this hour by some top-notch professionals. that have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Yes, the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning services, and along with maybe if you're a business owner wanting to hire more employees and expand your business, or maybe starting a business or changing over and trying to start a corporation, whatever, they can help you. And don't forget, it's getting close to the end of the year, and the question is, are your tax records ready for your business? Well, you check it out with these folks that can and will help you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's a beautiful day as we get closer to Thanksgiving. However, for Thanksgiving, things are going to change a bit. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side, and looking at a high of 48 today. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 24. Tomorrow, another nice one. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 52. By tomorrow night, that's when things are going to start to change. We do have a 20% chance of rain and or snow showers after midnight. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 36. By Thanksgiving Day, rain and snow showers are definite in the forecast, mostly cloudy skies, and winds could gust up as high as 21 miles an hour. High of 46 by Thursday night. Chance of rain or snow after midnight, low of 34, and that's going to continue for Friday. More rain showers and snow showers in the forecast, and highs in the mid-40s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
And we appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Brought to you by the Real Professionals. As I said, providing accounting services to you, your family, and your business. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. And they wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. Right now, it's time for the Stoats Ag Minute, and we're very fortunate to have these folks on the air with us at Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley, and it's really the truth. They do make your life easier. I believe we have one of the representatives from Stoats Equipment on our telephone line this morning, Curtis Timmons. Good morning, Curtis. How are you?
Good, Zeb. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Listen, what is basically your job with Stoats Equipment Company?
I'm the customer support rep, so I drive around, make sure people's happy. Complaint department, anybody has a complaint about us, we'd love to hear it, and I take it back and try to make sure we can get that fixed between the customer and if they have a problem within the store or something, make sure we keep them happy and make their life easy.
You know, now, I got to ask you this. You're a young man that you're really dedicated to serving the clients. I know that firsthand. But what about the knowledge? What about the education? How much of a training program to know and understand all this equipment did you have to go through?
Oh, it changes daily, really. We do a lot of training in-house. Stoats Equipment as a whole makes us have like 40 hours of training a year. Plus, John Deere makes us have, I think, 40 hours of training a year. So there's 80 hours of training we have to have every year just as employees that we have to do.
So when you have like maybe a new combine or you've got a new tractor or any kind of new equipment, what is it, kind of a hands-on training session and you have to know all the ins and outs and all the things from A to Z? How do you go about learning all that?
Well, a lot of it, you go back and go through the training courses that actually, John Deere has a big deal in Florida that you go back and they send everybody back from, I think it's October to December, January, and you go back there and train for all like 3 or 4 months on just combines or just new tractors coming out. And it's hands-on. You drive everything that's there. And for me personally, I learn more hands-on than a book any day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of it's hands-on.
You know, for as long as you've been in this job, how many years have you done this, Curtis?
I've been a parts guy for 11 years, and then I came over to Stoats Equipment 2 years ago, and I've been a customer service for 2 years. I've farmed and baled and everything for as long as I can remember.
Does it surprise you, Curtis? I know you were over here at my place one day. We were talking about this. The innovative changes, the computers, everything. I mean, I know you keep up on this with seminars and everything, but wow, it's got to shock you from what farming was 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it's came a long ways with GPS and everything. I mean, in a tractor anymore, you can push one button and turn it around, and it does everything inside. It's came a long ways. It's crazy how far it's came.
I would imagine that when you go to these seminars, now you and your brother Jake also work there at Stoats Equipment Company, and there's a lot of great people. There are a lot of careers available for young people in agriculture, and Stoats Equipment has proven that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're trying to get younger generation in, like, especially mechanic. If anybody wanted to be a mechanic, we try to help them out in any way we can. Right now, we're the only dealership in the state of Idaho, I believe, that has signed up for the schools, because we help, get people go to school. We pay for it. As long as they'll come work for us for 2 years after they get out, we'll pay for all their schooling and everything to go to school.
I would imagine that possibly the fall and the winter, what do you do then? I mean, in the summertime, I know for a fact that you're running over here checking on this tractor, you're running over here checking on that baler, that combine, whatever. What about the winter months? What's a day in the life of Curtis Timmons during the winter months?
I go out and make sure I go check their equipment. If they've got a disc, I might drive by, and if their discs are bad on their disc, I'll call them up and be like, hey, we might need to change your discs, or just kind of try to remind them that their tillage equipment might need worked on, or hey, that tractor has a leak. Do we need to bring it into the store? Or I try to drive around and make sure everybody's taken care of in that circumstance.
Well, the name of the game sounds to me like not only innovative equipment, but also people-to-people service. That's really what the business is all about, right?
Oh, yeah. If we can keep the relationship between, the customer and us healthy and everything, it goes a long ways.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of Deanne and I, we've been extremely satisfied with the great service from Stoats Equipment Company and you personally. And I want to extend to you a very, very happy Thanksgiving, and keep up the good work. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, Deb. I do the same thing. I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas when it comes around.
All right. We'll send everybody into Stoats Equipment. Curtis, thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right. Curtis Timmons and that young man, along with his brother, they and Ian over there, the whole crew, they are just such sharp people and very service-oriented. Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley, and it is true, they do make your life easier. I would appreciate a couple of phone calls right now. I got some time. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you, the game went a lot later last night than what my eyelids could handle. In other words, I fell asleep. And how I fell asleep during this game, I'll never know. One of the best Monday Night Football games I've seen in a long time. As a matter of fact, they set a scoring record last night. It was the Rams defeating the Chiefs. Sounds like the defense fell off into the ocean. 54-51. Wow. And by two teams that, quite frankly, might see each other in the Super Bowl later on in February of next year. Really a tough game. Rams defeating the Chiefs 54-51. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another thing I wanted to say, I saw a commercial last night on television. I got to share this with you. It was the most offensive commercial for the way they started it. There was a kind of a silent, not moving screen all of a sudden, and a voice came on and said, "The following is a real-life happening. You may be offended." And then right after that, an elderly lady was pictured that had possibly fallen down the stairs, and she couldn't get up, and she was seeking help. And the first thing that came to my mind is, how in the world could an elderly person that had just fallen down the stairs and needed help, how could that be considered offensive? And why did they have to give some kind of a disclaimer to that kind of an ad? That, to me, was shameful. And I don't think they should have said, the following is a real-life happening, and you may be offended. Well, I'm offended that they put that on there. Our hearts go out to anybody and everybody that has a real-life circumstance to where they fall, and I think due diligence should be given, that we try to do everything we can to keep our homes safe, and especially our elderly. But it's certainly not offensive. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, this gasoline situation here in Magic Valley is self-imposed, I guess you might say, because why is there a difference of 20 cents a gallon between Burley and Twin Falls? But in the beginning, I used to sympathize with our local distributors because they were saying their suppliers control the price. But we have a problem there when there's 20 cents a gallon difference.
To me,
what's your opinion on that?
Well, don't get me started on the oil and gas companies, because I'll tell you what, the words ripoff are going to start off at the top of my list. I am sick and tired of the ripoff situation that I feel is being imposed on the consumer, whether it's here, whether it's in California, Wisconsin, Florida, whatever. And to see this kind of a price disparity in less than 30 miles difference, it stinks.
It's insulting our intelligence. We are so stupid, but our hands are tied. We can't do anything about it.
I agree. You know, I've said for a long time that the fuel prices versus what the price of oil is, crude oil right now, we are being ripped off. I've proven that with the charts that I've kept over the many years. And like I said, I wished I had more time, Keith. It's an excellent subject. Maybe we can get into it a little bit more tomorrow. But God bless you. I got to do one quick commercial and then go to the news.
Okay, see you, buddy.
All right, thank you. Don't forget, big Black Friday sale going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I mean, actually, they kind of started the sale a couple of days ago at 40% off the retail price on their furniture, mattresses, dining sets, motion furniture, bedroom groups, no money down, no interest, up to 48 months on approved credit. Oh, boy, can you save money when you go to beautify and comfortize your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They're located at 459 Overland in Burley, and they urge you to come in and check out all the great buys, whether it's on furniture for your living room, your bedroom sets, recliners. What a wide display of recliners they've got at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You stop in and see them today at 459 Overland in Burley. Right now, Dr. History's coming up next, and we're going to take a break for the news. Wheels, thank you. Take it away. Oh, good morning, and welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch, right here on KBAR 1230 and streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com, and, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, and they're at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Let's not forget some of our great sponsors that want to wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving, including, had to swallow, I got a cough drop, Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-1722. Company coming. You need a new carpet? Absolutely, they've got the best at Magic Valley Carpet. Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. And by the way, if you'd like to get a gift certificate for a stocking stuffer for Christmas, call her. Call her at 431-5667. Vicky's Country Gardens. And Magic Valley Irrigation irrigation at 44 East, 500 South of Burley, with our dear friends Jeff and the whole crew, thanking all the farmers for the great job they do. Don't forget Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley. And they wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. Right now, we have our own turkey in the studio. I couldn't resist that. I'm sorry. You got me last week. I'm getting you first this week.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. It's a great day, right?
How are you?
Good. It's going to be a good week. Good week to get together.
You've got the whole family
Got
coming.
everybody. 6 kids, their spouses, and 13 grandkids. So.
And have you made reservations for the day after to get out of town?
Oh, it's good. We have a good time.
Do you, as a grandfather, have the patience for 13 grandkids all the time they're there?
Sometimes I may go out to my shop.
And then do what?
Then go back out and come back in. No, they're pretty good. We get along pretty good. They all play together really well.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't have to entertain them.
Well, yeah, well, that would be quite a chore in itself.
It would. It would. Yep.
What are we going to do today?
We're going to talk about Gold Rush. We're going to talk about Wells Fargo. We're going to talk about a robbery that was kind of a bungled robbery, which tended to happen. So, gold was discovered in California. Obviously, the news swept through San Francisco like a tornado. It was the spring of 1848. News had just reached the little town of 800 people. Can you imagine San Francisco? 800 people.
That was a long time ago.
But James Marshall had discovered a few gold nuggets at Sutter's Sawmill in the American River Canyon. So half the men in town and half the sailors from the ships in the harbor grabbed a shovel, they grabbed their gold washing pans, and they headed out for the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. By the spring of 1849, the California gold rush was on in earnest. The early arrivals, they swarmed like a bunch of ants into every canyon, every creek or river that flowed down from the high Sierras, and they staked claims. So sandbars were ripped into, and you can just picture this, dozens of gold-crazed prospectors kneeling with their washing pans, and the strike was great. It was a really good...
Well, were there people that actually made a lot of money?
Oh, yeah. Well, let me just tell you, on some sandbars, the gold deposit was so heavy that a man might pan out $1,000 worth of dust in a single day.
Wow. Back then, that was pretty good money.
Heck yes. But claims were divided and then redivided until some were so small that they could be covered by a blanket. I mean, just a little 10 by 10 claim that you could dig up and still get gold.
Someday you got to explain to me how they staked their claim.
Yeah, that's a little fuzzy to me, too.
Yeah.
So, California was then a new possession of the United States, and there was no written law yet that had been established. But strangely enough, there wasn't much law that was needed, because in that first great rush, every man was so busy panning gold or hunting for it that there was no thought of robbery. A man might sleep soundly with his gold poke on the ground beside him and have no fear of it being stolen during the night.
You're kidding.
Well, one of the early stage drivers on his first trip from a mining camp to San Francisco, he was alone, unarmed, carrying gold dust worth more than $200,000.
No gun?
By himself. Yeah, that's how how it was. But this all changed, obviously, as the stampede reached its height. The early comers, they'd soon had all the good claims, and the late comers didn't have really anything. So the inexperienced usually became discouraged and returned to their homes. The shiftless migrated by thousands to San Francisco, going from 800 to 25,000, and they claim it was the wickedest city in the world.
Really?
Just in those couple of years.
My things haven't changed.
By 1851, hardly a day passed without at least one murder being committed. Robberies were common, and no stagecoach carrying gold was safe. So I'm going to tell you about a driver by the name of Cal Olmsted.
Mm-hmm.
He was a driver for the Telegraph Stage Company. Well, just picture this. He climbed up into the high seat of a stagecoach, and it was actually a few minutes after midnight, because they ran 24 hours. At his feet was a heavy iron express box, and picture this. It was fitted with these massive bronze hinges, a hasp, and a huge padlock. So this was a safe box, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But inside it lay a buckskin sack filled with gold dust worth $3,500, and it was going from the mining camps over to San Francisco.
Okay.
So Cal Olmsted, he was actually considered one of the best drivers on the Sacramento stage line, and he was a bit of a showman. He never drove into town or out of it with his horses at least at a high gallop. He'd go charging out of town on a gallop, and he'd come riding into town.
And this is with the stage?
With the stagecoach.
Really?
Just a grand entry and a grand leaving, but he was very conscious of his horses. So he would trot. When it come to hills, he would just walk them up the hill and rest them. He was very cognizant of
But he'd run
horses.
over old ladies and people
In the street.
In the street, yeah.
Well, the stage was due in Nevada City at 5 o'clock in the morning, but Cal Olmsted was well ahead of time. He had a full hour left in which to cover the last 7 miles, but he had a 1,500-foot climb up the canyon wall, which was kind of steep, and he wanted his horses fresh enough to make a good fast race into town. Well, he had nearly reached the top of the hill north of Nevada City when out of the thicket of chaparral leaped 3 heavily masked and armed men, a small one, a big guy, and a medium-sized guy who was the leader.
Okay.
Now, this is where stupidity comes in.
Oh,
all right?
stupidity.
Yeah, see if you can get this, Zeb.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So
I don't like the way you phrased that.
Everybody listen, see if you can get this. So the leader says, "Get down, Cal, and keep your hands up."
Called him by his first name?
Called him by his first name. Okay. Stupid number 1.
Yes.
So the Iron Express box that held the gold dust was too heavy for the bandits to carry and too strongly built to just be broken open. So the leader, who called him Cal, only a local man would have known his name, and only a bungling amateur would have been stupid enough to use it, which he did.
Yeah.
Well, it gets worse.
Really?
It soon became evident to Cal that the bandits knew the strength of the iron treasure box and had come well prepared to open it. So the big bandit, he was guarding the passengers, ordered them out of the coach, and he herded them together and Cal to the back of the stage. Meanwhile, the smallest of the 3 unhitched the horses, and the leader brought out a pair of sledgehammers. Okay? Sledgehammers. Big sledgehammers. So together they climbed up on the coach and attacked this iron box with sledgehammers. They were going to pound it open. All right?
Okay.
Probably stupid number 2.
Yeah.
After a few minutes of useless pounding, the leader straightened up and ordered, quote, "George, fetch me that there can of gunpowder and them fuses."
So he called one of the bad guys by name.
George. Stupid number 3, right?
Yeah.
So the little highwayman, he scuttled back into the brush, brought out a black can, and scrambled onto the couch, and for several minutes the 2 knelt over the iron box. The yellow light of a match flickered for an instant, and a fuse sputtered, and the bandits jumped to the ground and ran.
Here we go.
They were barely among the bushes when an explosion just rocked the coach. The driver's seat jumped high in the air. Sheets of leather and wood and all that sailed away, but the iron box was still unharmed.
May I ask you stupid question 4, please?
Okay, go for it.
Why did they unhook the team from the stagecoach?
I don't know. I mean, I assume
that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they knew they were going to use dynamite and didn't want to scare
Well,
the
they
horses.
weren't that smart to know anything.
They weren't. Well, when the bandit leader discovered that his carefully laid plan had failed, he screamed again, "George,
Poor George.
fetch me the rest of that there powder and some heavy rocks." And then he says, "Bob, you keep them passengers covered."
So they were pretty well all named.
Yeah. So, in desperation, he poured all the remaining powder around the great bronze padlock, covered it with stones, lighted the fuse, and jumped for safety.
Goodness, look out.
Well, the explosion crashed with a thunderous roar. The front end of the coach flew apart in splinters, and the treasure box plunged down to the road. Its lock and everything was blown to bits, but the buckskin bag of gold was undamaged. So they got the gold.
They did get the gold.
Yeah, the bandit leader grabbed it. He tossed it over his shoulder, took off. He and his partners took off. Now, here's another guy. I want you to remember his name. Steve Vernard, okay? Vernard. He is the town marshal at Nevada City.
Okay.
And now we continue with him.
Yeah.
So his first chore each morning was to clean and oil his most prized possession, one of the few Henry repeating rifles. Those were nice rifles.
I have one.
Oh, yeah, those are nice. But in a tube mounted beneath the barrel, it carried 15 extra cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
And in his hands, he was an expert with this Henry. Again, one of the finest rifles ever designed, and Steve Vernard was an expert with it. Well, it was just getting light, and Steve Vernard was cleaning his rifle when Cal Olmsted, who had gotten a horse from the stage and came running into the marshal, threw the door open and said, we've been robbed. Well, Steve Bernard, he just kind of said, sit down, son, and tell me again right from the start what happened. Well, the marshal said, now ain't that curious? The big one was Bob and the little one George, you say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there ain't no two ways about it. That has to be Jack Williams, Bob Finn, and George Moore. So he already knew who...
He knew who it was?
Sure. They were from that town. I mean, they were partners, or they were hung around together.
And they were still there?
The three bandits had taken off.
Oh.
They headed out. So here we go. So Steve Bernard, the sheriff, with a posse of volunteers, led the way straight down the steep mountainside into this place called the South Yuba Canyon. Now, near the bottom of the canyon, Steve Bernard scattered his posse to hunt for footprints, but it was he who actually found the footprints. So he followed the tracks less than 100 yards. Now, the amateur robbers had discovered they were being followed, and in a panic, they had raced for the river where their feet would leave no tracks on the unwashed rock. Okay, so that was kind of a smart move, sort of. But if he stopped to gather his posse, he would lose the thieves. So without hesitation, the marshal just went on by himself after the three bad guys. Now, for a single man to follow three well-armed and desperate criminals into this country would seem a little foolhardy. I'm not going to say stupid, because he was a smart guy. But knowing they were being followed, they could easily ambush him, kill him before he'd had a chance to raise his rifle. But Steve Bernard wasn't foolhardy. He knew what kind of outlaws he was following, and he knew how they would behave.
He probably had coffee with him.
Well, he probably did. I mean, he knew him from back in town.
Yeah.
And like I say, he knew the guys and probably knew the total IQ of all three put together.
Added up to one hand.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But he figured they'd run for cover, they'd hide out, they'd fight back if they were cornered. So they were desperate. He figured that was the way it would be. Well, there was a place called Myers Ravine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it had granite walls that rose up sheer for 100 feet or more on either side. So picture this: he's down in this ravine called Myers Ravine. There's a pretty hefty stream, or maybe even almost a river, running down the middle of this.
Down the middle of it.
And on each side is these steep sides.
Okay.
So it's steep and a solid rock floor that had a bunch of boulders, and for better hiding places, few could be found other than with all these rocks and stuff.
Yeah, but was it a box canyon?
No, but they could keep going up.
I see.
So anyway, the sheriff, Steve Bernard, was positive that Williams and his frightened men were heading for this ravine.
I see.
So he didn't bother with following the tracks, but cut straight for the mouth of this ravine. So, from the melting snow and the runoff from the rain of the night before, this Myers Creek was in flood stage. I mean, it was really roaring down through this little ravine. So here he is, a rain of flying spray soaked him to the skin as he climbed carefully upward, balancing himself with one hand and holding his rifle with the other.
He left his horse at the bottom.
Yeah, because, I mean, you couldn't ride a horse up through here.
All right.
Yeah. So he was watching for any slight movement. I mean, he was really watching ahead of me. Obviously, he had to. So he watched for the occasional scratch on the stone that would be made by a hobnail boot. I mean, he was a pretty smart tracker. So he was so he figured they were still ahead of him up this ravine. Well, far up the ravine, a granite island stood like a mighty fortress in the center of Myers Creek. So a great big huge boulder was right in the middle of this creek with water going each side of it. Okay? So the waters divided and went around at each side. Now, in a 15-foot waterfall, but clinging to the rock with feet and knees in one hand, Steve inched his way upward to the top of this falls. Now, so picture this. There's a big, huge log that was wedged from the canyon wall to the island, which formed a natural bridge going out to this huge boulder that's in the middle of the creek.
Okay, and he's up above that.
And he's right at it, right to where this big old tree has fallen over onto this rock.
All right.
So he first stopped to check and cock his rifle, and he edged cautiously across this wet, slippery bridge. As he stepped off the log and passed a shoulder of stone, he came face to face with Jack Williams.
Uh-oh.
Leveling a cocked .44 revolver at him. Beyond Williams and above him, Bernard glimpsed Bob, and he was also raising a .44 to take aim. Steve Bernard fired his first shot before he'd brought his rifle fully to his shoulder. He fired the second. The first made a bullseye of Jack Williams' heart. The second caught Bob Finn just above the right eye, and he fell with that buckskin bag of gold at his feet.
Uh-oh.
So there's one guy left.
One guy left.
George.
Lonesome George.
George. He had not crossed to the island, but in being scared, he was trying to scale the wall of the canyon. I mean, picture this. It's a steep canyon. You're not going to crawl out of
Why
there.
didn't he run towards either of the exits?
Well, there was no sign. You know, like I said,
George wasn't real bright.
No. So Bernard sent a warning shot into the wall above him because he could see him. But Moore stopped only long enough to fire 2 shots. Well, Steve Bernard's second shot was no warning, and Moore's body pitched down the canyon wall and into the creek. Well, the stage was robbed shortly after 4:30 in the morning. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Steve Bernard brought the buckskin bag of gold dust into the Telegraph Stage Company's Nevada City office.
No kidding.
So Jack Williams and his followers were fairly kind of representative of the California's earliest robbers. Most of them were bungling amateurs.
What year was that again?
About 1851,
Wow.
right in there, yeah.
Okay.
But like I say, most of them were amateurs. They'd been failure in their lives, and they were no match for a sheriff like this Steve Bernard. I mean, this guy was sharp. He knew what he was doing. And so, but there wasn't a lot of Steve Bernards, and there was a lot of bungling robbers.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, they were successful in making the robberies and their getaways. The prospectors who struck it rich at the diggings found themselves, they were kind of in a dilemma, because if they kept their gold dust at their claim, they were constantly in danger of being murdered and robbed. So what do? Well, if they were lucky enough to get their dust to a stagecoach office and ship it to a San Francisco bank, then their chance of losing it to the robbers was less.
Were they given, this is a dumb question on my part, but were they, the miners, given a notice of receipt of their gold dust so that the liability for the loss was passed automatically on to the company in case there was a robbery from that point on?
You know, that's a good question, because the stage drivers were just the stage drivers. So when they handed this stuff over to the stage driver, the question would be, did he give them some kind of a receipt on how much weight there was?
I mean, was the stage company like Wells Fargo, or was it a small?
Well, some Wells Fargo, but there was dozens of other stage outfits.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if they assumed the risk of having the money for a reimbursement if they were robbed.
And that's a good question. I don't know, but I'm assuming too that when it did get to the bank, whatever bank it was, then they would make note of, okay, I've got $300 worth of gold dust from miner.
Yeah, but would you, as a miner, and me, I wouldn't want to give it to somebody else to say, gee, I hope it makes it 3-hour stage run.
Right. I think that was when they were really nervous. And I don't know that Wells Fargo ever reimbursed anybody that was robbed.
Yeah.
So, but you know, the early amateurs were soon to be followed by some pretty good professionals. There was a guy named Rattlesnake Dick. I think we've talked about him. He was kind of the king of the California robbers. There's a guy named Fightin' Tom Bell. He had a bunch of cutthroats that followed him. Black Bart, he was kind of what they
Wasn't he originally from Idaho?
You know, one of those guys was, and I can't remember
think
which
it was
one.
Black Bart. Wasn't he from around the Weezer area?
It could have been. The problem with the name Black Bart is there was 2 or 3 guys that claimed to be Black Bart.
Yeah.
So that one was a little fuzzy on who really was the original. But so there were really only 2 men in the United States who could successfully solve the gold miner's dilemma. That was Henry Wells and William Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
So, but up until 1852, Wells and Fargo had all they could do to take care of their rapidly growing express business back east. So they had really a thriving business back east, which I didn't realize that.
I thought it started out in the West.
Yeah. But they had a really good business going back east, and they saw California, San Francisco, and they thought, okay, this looks like a good place to go. So that's when they headed out, sent some stagecoaches, hired the drivers. But Henry Wells was actually born in 1805, and William Fargo was born in 1818. And like I say, they kind of had a monopoly back east with along the Erie Canal. And in 1852, that's when they incorporated Wells Fargo and Company and went into the business in California.
I still want to do a program. a program, pardon me, I still got this cold. I still want to do a program as to how they figured out and adhered to the different mining claims. I mean, I don't understand how they did that.
You know,
they didn't survey each and every one of them.
No, and that was to what I recollect is that they would have a landmark. Okay, like say,
is it good so much in a radius around that mark?
Or they might say from the riverbank here, 100 feet to the west, 100 feet to the south, I mean, were there set standards of, like you said, 100 feet this way, 100 feet that way, or whatever? I mean, I've often wondered that. I see on TV and the movies, they're going to stake a claim. Well, how was this claim staked? Right.
And what was their circumference around where they did put the stake?
And I think it was different for mining as opposed to farming and ranching.
So like the Oklahoma land rush.
Yeah. So that was, as I understand it, when you staked your land claim, it had a distance around that.
Many acres.
Yeah. But the gold miners, guys that were panning gold, and up in the Klondike, they just had an area, maybe only 20 feet by 20 feet.
Yeah, and see, you said they came in various sizes. When I wonder, when you say you're going to stake a claim, I mean, how do you go about saying that you want so big a claim? I don't understand all that.
And of all my reading, I have never really run across anything that says this is exactly how it happened. So that's a good one. I'm going to do some research on that and see if I can figure that out.
Okay.
So
because you always hear of claim jumpers,
right? Exactly. They kill the guy and put their claim stake in there.
Yeah.
So that's a good question. That is kind of a fuzzy thing. Do you want to see a picture of Wells and Fargo?
I do. I probably. Oh, they're not anything like I thought. All the people of that era, they look just like Ulysses S. Grant.
They do.
Yeah.
Long beard, long hair.
We have a caller with a quick comment. I've only got about 30 seconds. Caller, real fast. Go ahead, please.
That's okay, Zeb. As a miner and have been for over 50 years, I can give you all those figures, but I won't do it right now. I'll catch you later.
Hey, call next week on the program, would you please?
Hey, another thought. Would you go to my webpage, dr-history.com, and there's a button to make comments? Just hit that comments, and you can send me an email. That would be great.
I'd love to know more about that. Thank you, caller. God bless you. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, Doc, we're out of time. I mean, really out of time. I appreciate your being on the program.
Oh, it's been fun. And you have a great Thanksgiving with your family this week.
I will, and you the same, and don't get your claim jumped.
I think I'm safe.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
You bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to send it over to Wheels in just a moment. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we also have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and we want to say thanks to the major sponsor, A Child's World, at 1308 Overland and Burley. All the clothes from newborn to size 16, along with all the Cherokee scrubs and the shoes and the games and the puzzles and the toys and all the furniture, everything at A Child's World, 1308 Overland and Burley, sponsoring Cassia County School Days, Thursdays at 10:10. Right now, let's send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. We've had some interesting things happen here today on the program and sometimes off the air. But we're rolling, and we extend to you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. Right now, we're going to say and acknowledge a very nice lady to come on our program that's been here many times before. She writes for The Stream, and she's got a story that I found very intriguing as to the mess in Broward County's election. Good morning, Rachel Alexander. How are you?
All right, she's there, sir. Sorry.
Rachel, good morning. Nice to have you on the program.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Rachel, the story that you had just written a couple of days ago, and I read it this morning, called 2016 Affidavit, Broward County election workers saw empty ballots being filled out. Whoa, that's a pretty good accusation. Tell us about this.
Yeah, this happened in 2016, but it could still be happening now. This temporary worker went to work for Broward County election, and she was told to carry some things around the office, transport some things. And at one point, they asked her to bring some
ballots into this secret room that you could only get into. It was for the security code. And so they let her in, and she sees these 4 employees sitting there with a stack of unfilled out ballots on one side of them and a stack of filled out ballots on the other side of them. And after she saw that, she came back to work the next day, and they fired her. And so she thinks it was in retaliation because she saw what they were doing.
Well,
there was an investigation. The police looked into it, and they determined that they were just filling out ballots for people who had faxed in their ballots so they could then scan them. But I'm very suspicious about that, because why didn't this temporary worker see the fax in ballots? She only reported seeing the 2 piles. And also, why did they fire her?
Well, you opened up the door of a lot of questions, but first and foremost, I want to go back to the original filling out the ballots. Who had that right, and without supervision and without somebody that is a polling, what's the word I'm looking for, security guard, etc., how in the world do you go about doing that? I mean, there's all kinds of illicit things that could happen.
Yeah, I don't know how they get away with this. All I can think of is, that Snipes woman who has been running the Broward County elections office. She's crooked as anything, and nobody would do anything, when they would find out about these things taking place underneath her.
Well, if there was a affidavit that was signed by an employee, and that warrants an investigation or at least a yes or a no answer as to any illegality, and then she's fired, why didn't she, the employee that was fired, make all kinds of stink and try to get this thing more noticeable?
Well, it sounded like she kind of did, except once the sheriff, did his investigation, it was pretty much just shut it down, and nobody has paid any attention to it for 2 years until we see that, similar problems arising again.
Wheels over at the station, you're going to have to turn her up a little bit, please. Make her volume a little louder. This county, along with a couple of other counties, it sounds to me like there needs to be a great big house cleaning. When you were writing this story, what surprised you the most about not only Broward County, but some of the other counties in Florida?
The fact that Snipes woman was not removed, and she has finally resigned. So at least there's been something good that has happened. But for this woman, it's been like 10 years of scandals that she's been ahead of.
The alteration of these ballots and the losing of ballots. If 2,000, we can't find them here, or maybe there were some bags, or 800, 80,000 ballots they said they'd misplaced. And I did a little checking for your information too, Rachel. 80,000 of the cardboard ballots would be like almost 3/4 of a ton of hay.
Yeah, it's really shocking, and the fact that they've been doing this for years. I was the former attorney for Maricopa County elections, and I can't imagine anything that bad at least when I was there, because now we have our own problems. But it's obviously corruption going on, and I highly bet that there is fraud being committed.
You talk about Maricopa County and you talk about Arizona, and you're a part of the election. I don't mean to get away from your article, but I've got to ask you, were you surprised at all that the lady, Sinema, won over McSally? I was shocked when I saw the final outcome.
Yeah, I was shocked too, because, Maricopa County supposedly went for Kirsten Sinema instead of the Republican, and Maricopa County has always gone Republican, and the fact that the Governor Doug Ducey, Republican, easily won re-election, but the Senate race, didn't go for the Republican, it doesn't make any sense. And plus there were all these extra ballots in the Senate race that, weren't in the presidential race 2 years before, and you don't have that. You don't have more people show up for a midterm than you do the presidential election. and more people voted in the Senate race than voted for the governor, and he's a pretty popular governor.
What would your response be after you said you've worked at polling places in the past, but what would your response be to Stacey Abrams in Georgia, who has absolutely been a malcontent ever since the vote took place? She feels like she was cheated out of the governorship. What are your response to what she's been claiming?
Well, she hasn't been able to find any fraud there. I would say, why don't you look into a election where we actually see evidence of fraud, like the Broward County or the Maricopa County? We don't see any fraud in her case. She just didn't like how people voted.
Right. There was a gentleman that called into my program the day, I think it was after the election or a couple days after, and he brought up a really interesting point. I'd like to throw this by you. He said all the polling places either open like at 8 o'clock in the morning and close at 8 o'clock at night, or they open at 7 o'clock in the morning and close at 7 o'clock at night. And he said they ought to have the same time deference given to the counting of the ballots. In other words, if we're going to have time constraints on the voting, we ought to have time constraints on the counting. What are your thoughts?
That is a good idea. Now, some, polling places and superintendent elections, they don't have the staff to get it done necessarily as fast as we would like them to. And I'm a little sympathetic to that. I remember when I was the attorney, they had me work in a polling place one day, and I had to be there at 6 a.m. in the morning till after 8 p.m. at night, and that's because if they try to do shorter shifts, people wouldn't work the shift, and they wouldn't have enough people, enough coverage. And the reason they wouldn't have enough coverage is the pay isn't very high, and who wants this kind of a temporary work? So it was always a huge pain trying to get enough workers.
What about the fact, Rachel, and again, you'd be very knowledgeable about this question, what about the fact that we've heard rumors that the Democrats were laying out kind of a test track during this election, whether it was the Scott versus Nelson race in Florida or whether it was Stacey Abrams in the governor race in Georgia? They were laying out a kind of a test track to say that if the Republicans won, it was a not fair and very faulted election. In other words, if they lose, the Democrats lose, automatically cry foul, and the whole election process must have been illegal. It seems to me that there was a trend starting this year. What are your thoughts?
You're right, and people say they're just preparing for 2020. They want to pull the same thing off in the presidential election.
What would you do as a past, I hate to use the word supervisor, but poll supervisor, etc.? What needs to be done first and foremost to clean up our elections and make them more verifiable?
Well, you've got to stop these people from breaking the rules and breaking the laws. Hold them accountable. Right now, this Snipes woman would refuse to let people observe, when she was counting or recounting the ballots, and that's required by state law. And, she's supposed to be giving an accounting of where she's at with the ballot counting every 45 minutes, and she didn't do that. So, start by enforcing the law is the first place.
And whose responsibility is it, first and foremost, on down through the chain of command to make sure the law is followed? Who's really at fault in most of these cases?
Well, I would put it on the top head cheese because she knows everything that's going on, and she's the one who hires and fires these employees. I'm very suspicious of her motive. She's a diehard Democrat. So I put the blame squarely on her shoulders.
Okay, so when these people are working at a polling place, I've been very blessed. I mean, the people where we go to vote, they're very professional. They keep the chit-chat to a minimum. It's a very quiet, subdued area, like a library. People can go in and concentrate on the ballot, etc. And we have had complaints called into the radio program that some polling places, it seems like it's almost a zoo or a circus with all the noise and the chit-chat and the laughter. There's got to be some way to regulate this a little bit more.
Yeah, well, and maybe they just haven't been told or instructed correctly, the ones where you've got this raucous situation going on. I remember when I did the polling place, we were instructed to keep everything very serious, very professional, keep the talk to a minimum. But we had a really good Maricopa County recorder and elections director back then.
But, Rachel, how does one go about, like, Miss, I forgot her name all of a sudden, down in Broward County, Snipes, Brenda Snipes. How do you go about losing thousands and thousands of votes? Help me on this, because I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, were they just not brought in from the polling places? I heard in one instance, they found a box, the next day at the school where the voting had taken place. And so, it was an oversight of one box, but, that's just, how many ballots are in that one box. That's just maybe a couple hundred or something. That's not thousands and thousands and thousands. That's where you got me.
Yeah. If you were to be the number one person to legislate and oversee all the elections come 2020, what's the number one thing that you would want done differently than what they've done now in the past?
Well, first of all, they got rid of Snipes, or she decided to resign. So that's the most important thing. But other than that, I would probably just have accountability, like your friend was saying, to have the ballots be, all turned in at a certain time. You can't come up with extra ballots 2 days after the election. You've got this much time. You've got 24 hours after the election to turn in all the extra ballots and boxes, and that's it. No exception.
Absolutely. Well, I want to tell you, you always write some very interesting articles. Rachel Alexander with The Stream, and this one is no exception. But what about the legal recourse? What is a time limit before they can go back and investigate that affidavit that was signed? Is it a certain time frame or what?
Well, it's probably over since the investigation was already done 2 years ago and they didn't find anything. But this temporary employee is still talking, and she's still saying it's still a problem.
I see. So it's an ongoing problem, not just a shot in the dark.
That's what she seems to think.
Well, stay on top of this because it's a very interesting story, and as we head towards 2020, we'll have you come back and talk more about this. Rachel Alexander with The Stream, thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless.
All right, take care. Happy Thanksgiving. Interesting about an affidavit where you see somebody sitting in a polling place, polling workers, filling out ballots behind the scenes. Yeah, it'd make you kind of question what's going on. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your phone calls, I think I'd love to give you the weather forecast, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Give me a jingle. Scarrows Meats, Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. They absolutely have all the delicious meats. You can go to their website and check it out, scarrowsmeats.com. I mean, from the marinated pork ribs to the tri-tips to the breakfast sausages and all the bacons and the bratwurst. Oh, my delicious meats from Scarrows Meats. Again, that number to call, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats, North Road, Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's a beautiful day as we get closer to Thanksgiving. However, for Thanksgiving, things are going to change a bit. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Sunny skies, a little bit on the breezy side, and looking at a high of 48 today. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 24. Tomorrow, another nice one. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 52. By tomorrow night, that's when things are going to start to change. We do have a 20% chance of rain and or snow showers after midnight. Mostly cloudy skies, expecting a low of 36. By Thanksgiving Day, rain and snow showers are definite in the forecast, mostly cloudy skies, and winds could gust up as high as 21 miles an hour. High of 46 by Thursday night. chance of rain or snow after midnight, low of 34, and that's going to continue for Friday. More rain showers and snow showers in the forecast and highs in the mid-40s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the
Oh, thank you very much, Gina. Excellent job. And, of course, talk about excellent job. We got to talk about our friends at Scarrow's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, delicious meats. Give them a call, 324-7657. And remember, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I'd love to have a call. Please give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline, and we'll cover some time here in the remaining minutes of this hour. I do have a couple of public service announcements that I need to get on here quickly, and you can still give us a call. The Century Cinema 5 movie theater is going to have a Christmas movie special. It's going to be on this Saturday, November 24th, starting at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. in the morning. There are two movies to choose from. One is Hotel Transylvania 3, and the other one is Jumanji, and both are family movies that are rated PG. Now, the admission is 2 cans of food, and all the food goes to the Christmas Council, and the concessions and the employees' time is donated to the Minnecasia Community Chest, Coats for Kids. So that's coming up this next Saturday on the 24th. Don't forget that. Then the annual Christmas dinner at the, whoops, almost dropped all my papers there. The annual Christmas dinner at the Minidoka County Senior Center is going to be held on December 1st at 6 p.m., and they're going to have shrimp and filet mignon. Woo! $20 each or $35 for a couple. Call 436-9107 for reservations so they know who's coming. And let's see, what else have I got here? The where did it go? Here it is. The Rupert United Methodist Church at 605 8th Street in Rupert is hosting their annual community concert featuring A.F. Sharp's American Falls Community Choir. It's going to be on Monday, December 10th at 7:30 p.m., directed by Dan Bowman. And the community is invited to attend and bring a friend. A love offering for the choir will be accepted, and there will be refreshments following the concert. And for more information, call the church office at 436-3354. That's the Rupert United Methodist Church at 605 8th Street in Rupert. And those are just a few of the community events coming up that we want you to be aware of. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Tomorrow, I'm going to ask your help on a little subject. We're going to have Dave Bego on the program tomorrow morning at 9:06, and then we're going to have Dan Perkins. And boy, old Dan, he does a heck of a job. He's a writer and political analyst, wrote the trilogy, The Brotherhood of the Red Nile. And then we're going to have accountant Lyden Crane on the program. And for the last half hour, I really want you to call, and maybe you've got somebody special in your family that doesn't live right here in the immediate area, and you'd like to give them a thank you and a shout out for a happy Thanksgiving, or maybe you can tell us why you're happy about Thanksgiving and all the blessings that you have in that last half hour. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you tomorrow in that last half hour so you can tell us all about your Thanksgiving. Old Thanksgivings from the past or today. Like Dr. History said, he's got, how many, Deanna, did he say he had coming? 28 people for Thanksgiving? Woo! How many are we going to be with on Thanksgiving? About 15, 17, something like that? Big family. It's going to be fun, too. Looking forward to it. Don't forget your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations saying, be ready for anything that's on the roadways, the highways, the freeway, and whether it's the ice, the snow, the sleet, the hail, whatever it might be, they've got all the tires that you need for safe wintertime driving. And I urge you to stop in and see any one of the 7 locations. Check out all the great buys on the tires and the tread design that you want for your driving, for your car, pickup, and SUV. All the tires are there, along with the the best in service with brake service, with highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Now, I'm telling you, folks, the weather is going to dip a little bit and get colder. You better make sure you got a good battery to start that four-wheel wonder. They've got it all at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, along with Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, Wheels, I thought I'd have a bunch of calls coming in. What are you going to do on Thanksgiving? Is your family all going to get together? What's going to happen?
Well, I have a family get-together on Saturday. That's with my extended family on my mother's side.
Okay.
My dad and my grandmother, his mom, they don't come back until next Monday, so we'll probably do something, later next week for them. But for me, I'm most likely just going to stay around town,
Who's doing all the cooking?
Well, I know that my mom is making a couple things for this Saturday, and I would imagine that my aunt and my other grandmother will be making most of the cooking. So
all right.
I feel like it's going to be good, but
all right.
I guess you got a call now, so I'll go ahead and put them through.
All right, Wheels, thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, doesn't Wheels have an jar that he's supposed to be putting money into every time he says
It's overflowing.
Hey, I've gotten better at my
No, you have not. In the morning when I call over to him before I go on the air, I got so sick of correcting him at 25 cents a pop. If I were to be paid the amount of money for his I could buy you, your wife, and everybody steak dinners.
Wow, you guys really know how to make the kids' face go red. Wow.
Okay. No more
I got something special for you, too, so that should make up for all the
All right, well, we'll look forward to it. Doug, I thank you for your call. I thank you for what are you going to do on Thanksgiving? Are you going to get together and have a big family reunion?
I think he hung up.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, Wheels, thank you. And we're going to tell everybody we'll be back here again tomorrow morning. We are not going to be here naturally on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. And Wheels is going to get a little bit more time off. I'm going to get a little bit more time off. But we're going to tell everybody we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. And we'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch. A lot of great people coming on. Dave Bigo, Dan Perkins, I told you already. And we wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. A lot of folks are taking off and driving today and tomorrow. Please drive carefully. Remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. God bless.